sister, she was in 8th grade, she tried to commit suicide. She's been one of my best friends all my entire life, if not my best friend growing up. I definitely was hurt with my sister because she was my best friend, and I mean, also I thought it was just kind of selfish. She had absolutely no reason to try to commit, no good reason to try to commit suicide. I felt like it was really selfish, and I harbored a lot of resentment. I was angry, I was hurt. I felt like my parents weren't there for me anymore because they were so busy with what was going on in my sister's life. I mean, half of me understood, half of me was like, okay, they need to parent her and she needs them. But at the same time, I needed them too. I learned at a very young age how to be independent. My parents always taught us to be independent. And so that compiled with the fact that I began to deal with my own problems alone. It just kind of was there. It was like an elephant in the room that nobody wanted to talk about. And then slowly talking about it, we discovered that we were all hurting in our different ways. We had laid the foundation of being upset, of being in an area of emotional strain. And so it wasn't until we dealt with it, or until we started to recognize that we had a problem, that we weren't the perfect family that we appeared to be. And I was jealous of a lot of my friends that appeared to have it together. And, you know, I felt like, one, that I couldn't talk about what was going on, or that I couldn't address my problems because, you know, they seemed like they didn't have problems. So I didn't want to admit to myself that this was a problem, that we weren't, or that I wasn't a person that had major problems. You know, I wanted to be one of those standard Christian families, and we just weren't.
Well, several times during the month of December, my family and I have been able and privileged to be able to go down to Florida and take a little vacation time. And I remember the first year that we went down there, we decided we were all going to go boogie boarding. Right? It's kind of a cross between body surfing and real surfing. You get a little styrofoam half board and you get out there and you try to catch a wave and do a few kicks and hopefully you can ride it all the way in. I remember on one occasion, my youngest daughter Lindsay and I were out there. We were boogie boarding. We were having a blast. The waves were anywhere between, 2 and 5 feet tall, quite manageable. But when you're used to Lake Michigan, the waves were awesome. And we were probably in the water, I don't know, maybe in an hour and a half or so. And we were getting a little bit tired, a little bit cold, and we thought, okay, time to go in. The rest of our family's on the beach, kind of working on their suntan, and we'll make plans. We got out of the water and we looked up and we had absolutely no idea where we were. The hotels that were supposed to be in front of us weren't in front of us. Our family was nowhere to be seen. And we were like, what in the world just happened to us? We scanned the beach one way and scanned the beach the other way, and we thought we saw way, way down there a pier that had been a reference point when we had first gotten in the water. We walked for hundreds and hundreds of yards in that direction when we came across home base. Our family, our beach chairs, our towels, our stuff. What had happened is the current had slowly taken us down the shore. And it was strong and powerful, but we didn't even perceive it. And we ended up hundreds of yards away from home base. I've been pastoring for about 25 years now. I've been married for over 30, and I have 5 kids. I've talked to a lot of people. You know what I've discovered? A similar kind of current runs through most families. And we start out at home base all together, happy life, looking forward to a wonderful future. But as we kind of go through the routine of life, there are currents inside the family that just take us a long way from home, a long way from happiness, a long way from being together. It's interesting when you get aside the average American family and you dig below the surface a little bit, what you often find is discontentment with the state of the home. That oftentimes things may not be horrible, may not be bad, but they're not what they dreamed about. There's not the level of happiness that they really wanted. Instead, there's frustration and unmet expectation, and there are tensions, and there are conflicts, and and there is frustration. Sometimes our home life can be so far away from happiness that we wonder, is there any way to get back? Is there any way to fix this? Is there any way we could be a really happy home where we enjoy each other and we really love each other and we get along and we're just happy? Wouldn't it be great if God were to somehow kind of float down from the sky and show up at your home and my home and say, okay, look, here's what you need to do. In fact, if he were to look at husbands and say, husbands, here's one thing to do to turn this around. Wives, here's one thing to do to turn this around. Parents, here's one thing to do to turn this around. Kids, there's one thing to do to turn this around. Wouldn't it be great if God would just show up and say, here's just one thing, do it, and you can create powerful, positive relational currents, and you can take yourself right back to the place where your home is happy. Wouldn't it be great if God did that? And guess what? He kind of did. There's a fascinating portion of Scripture found in the book of Colossians, chapter 3. It goes from verse 18 to verse 21, 4 verses, and in rapid-fire succession, God basically says, husbands, one thing, wives, one thing, parents, one thing, kids, one thing. Do that one thing. And that one thing is so foundational, that one thing is so powerful, that if you will do it, it'll create an incredible emotional current, and it will just help your home move toward real, deep-seated happiness. Now, it's not everything we need to know, but these things are so powerful that they can renovate a home. You know, many people for New Year's, they make a New Year's resolution that deals with family. And the resolution may go like this: I'm going to spend more time with my kids. Or I'm going to spend more time with my wife. Or maybe the resolution goes like this: I'm going to be a better spouse. I'm going to be a better parent. I'm going to try to get along with my parents better. Common resolution. But we've been learning here at the Prairie Chapel that 92% of resolutions never take hold. So we decided to skip on the resolutions and instead opt for renovations. To dig down deep to the foundation of our lives and build things from the inside out, from the foundation up, under the direction of Jesus. And when it comes to family, that's what we want to do this morning. Now, what's the one thing? We'll start with husbands. What's the one thing inside the marriage relationship that exists that God would say, husbands, if you do this one thing, it could be the essence of turning everything around. And I think God would say that one thing is simply this: husbands, love your wives. Love them. He says in Colossians 3:19, husbands, love your wives and do not be harsh with them. Now, you might be sitting here as a husband saying, okay, check, no problem, got it down, love my wife. I really care about her. She really means something to me. I have some nice affections toward her. I love her. And I trust you do. But the challenge of this particular concept is this: the word that God uses for love means sacrifice yourself for her. It means that what you need to do is put self-interest on hold, to give up pieces of your life on an ongoing basis to make sure that she is healthy and growing and vibrant as a human being. Love her like that.